Good morning, everybody. Or actually, not morning, it's afternoon, 12:30. This is David Tashrudian with Balcony1. I'm here with my colleague, Hannah Zilberberg. And today we'll be talking about some of the differences between SB326 and SB721, the balcony inspection laws. So without further ado, let's start the presentation. There we are. So we're with Balcony1. We're a balcony inspection firm and a structural framing and frame and foundation water damage firm out of Tarzana, California. My name is David Tashrudian. Like I mentioned, I'm the president and the founder. With me is Hannah Zilberberg, who is the director of the balcony division. Hannah, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you all for joining us.
And also, if at any point, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to post anything in the comments or reach out to us.
Yeah, you can reach out to us directly through the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Or after the presentation, you can call us up here at the office, 323-BALCONY. Reach out to us via our website or actually directly to Hannah. Her email address is CHANA, Hannah@balcony1.com.
Or 818-401-8388.
So many different ways to contact us. It's great. Okay, so apparently we're balcony inspection experts. There must have been a typographical error there when I tried to type in the P, but we are experts. We've been doing balcony inspection now for 2 years, ever since the law was passed. And we are very familiar with the balcony inspection laws. We've done, I would say, I don't know, about 30 to 40 balcony inspections thus far and reports. So any questions, feel free to send them over to us. All right, so what we're talking about today is the difference between SB721 and SB326. So let's start with SB721. They're both balcony inspection bills, I should add. But SB721 is targeted directly at the apartments. Under SB721, all balconies, decks, exterior elevated elements, and their wood framing elements and their load-bearing components and waterproofing systems must be inspected every 6 years by either a licensed architect, a licensed civil engineer, a licensed structural engineer, a licensed contractor holding the B General license or a C5 framing license. The SB721 balcony inspection rule is codified at the California Health and Safety Code, section 17973. So if you have any questions, you can reference the code, and everything that you need to know will be in there. So the corollary to SB721 rather is SB326. SB326 is codified here at California Civil Code section 5551. And there are differences between SB326 and SB721, and I think those differences are likely the result of lobbying by the HOA lobby in Sacramento versus the apartment owners lobby. So there are some differences. The differences are, how would I say it? The differences are technical in nature, but they're very important. So we'll get into the differences now. So, before I get into this slide here, let's try this one. Okay. So under SB326, the exterior elevated elements of an HOA must be inspected every 9 years. All right. And whereas under SB721, the exterior elevated elements must be inspected every 6 years. So that's one difference, probably the main difference. Pursuant to SB326, the inspections must be conducted by a licensed structural engineer or an architect. Whereas under SB721, you've sort of got a broader range of professionals that can make the inspections. And under SB721, the inspection can be done by either a licensed structural engineer, a licensed civil engineer, a licensed architect, a B General licensed contractor, or a C5 licensed contractor, both of which should have at least 5 years of experience constructing multifamily buildings. A little bit about the rule. The reason these two balcony inspection rules were passed is that in 2015, there was a horrible accident up in Berkeley where students fell from the fifth floor balcony that collapsed. And you can see here, these are the wood framing members of the balcony that collapsed. They were completely deteriorated. I think the cause of the collapse was improper. Well, actually, the wrong kind of lumber was used to frame out the balcony. I think the inspector and the engineer called for pressure and preservative treated lumber, but only regular Douglas fir was used. Do you want to go through this one, Clara?
Yeah, so how you determine if your building does require an inspection? So you can see right here, you have to have a minimum of 3 units in the building. Then you also have to make sure that they are wood frame, and in that case, a lot of time it's confusing because they will be covered by stucco. The wood framing won't be exposed, and most of the balconies in California are constructed with wood framing and stucco covering. So we are able to determine that. Also, it has to be 6 feet and above. So any deck area, landing area, or balconies that you have under 6 feet high won't be required inspection, but above 6 feet high is required. And the difference between SB721, it's for apartment buildings, or SB326 will be for condominiums and HOAs. Yes.
Okay, so sort of going through this flow chart here, if you have a building with more than 3 units, with exterior elevated elements, so these are balconies, walkways, stairways, decks, catwalks, that have a walking surface that's higher than that's more than 6 feet off of the ground, then they've got to be inspected. Khana made a good point. Most of the balconies that we see here in California are constructed out of wood. So they'll be constructed out of wood framing with wood joists, wood support columns, and beams and stuff like that. And a lot of times they'll be clad in stucco, so you can't really see the interior framing. But if you own a building, or if you live in a condominium that has a concrete first floor where you park typically, so you'll typically have a CMU block walls that you'll see, and CMU block walls are essentially those concrete those concrete blocks that are about 8 inches wide, 6 inches deep. So you'll be able to tell if your first floor is made out of concrete block walls with a concrete podium, like with pedestal type construction. In those cases where you got a building that's built like that, typically the balconies on the first floor are not going to be constructed out of wood. The concrete pedestal and the podium will extend to those first floor balconies, and they'll be made out of concrete as well. So those will not have to be inspected. If you have any questions about your building, you can always send us a picture, and we can tell you whether or not the building has that concrete first floor with the concrete podium, where the first floor balconies do not need to be inspected. We talked about the rule a little bit. Okay, so
about the 15%.
Oh yeah, okay, good point. Sorry. Another big and very important distinction between SB326 and SB721 is the number of exterior elevated elements that must be inspected in pursuant to each of the rules. So under SB326, the engineer is required, or the architect for that matter, is required to inspect as many elements as necessary until the engineer or architect is 95% certain, within a margin of error of 5%, that the balance of uninspected balconies remains safe. So let's say, for example, there's a community with 300 elements. So the engineer is required to inspect as many elements as required until he's 95% certain that the balance is in the same condition as the ones that he's inspected or she's inspected. So of those 300, the engineer may reach 95% certainty after inspecting 100 elements. So it's very important that those 100 elements be very well inspected, because the engineer is not going to end up inspecting the rest of them. So you've got to be very certain that you've reached that 95% threshold within a 5% margin of error. The rule is different, though, for apartment buildings. So under SB 721, 15% of each type of element must be inspected. So if you've got 10 balconies, for example, 15% of that is a balcony and a half, so 2 balconies must be inspected. If you've got 100 linear feet of walkways or catwalks, 15 linear feet of those catwalks have to be inspected, although we typically inspect all of the walkways. Is that correct?
Yes. So for apartment building, we inspect and advise to do a minimum of 15% of each element. On the walkways, we do 100% inspection on the under surfaces, because those tend to have more of damage. And from our experience, also for the HOAs, we to make sure that we cover everything, we try to get for the first, we have it in 2 phases. So the first phase will go and we do visual inspection, and that will include inspecting the railings, inspecting the waterproofing system, using moisture meters, infrared technology to detect if there is any temperature change. So that will try to do on 100% of the elements. Not always we're able to access all of the units, but of course, if we do it, we try to cover our 95% certainty.
By doing all of them, right?
Yes.
So instead of just reaching 95%, we'll typically
do 100%.
Yeah, this is for HOAs.
And then we go for a secondary borehole inspection on those elements that were flagged in the first phase to have any signs of water damage, or the railings are loose if we see that needs
or failed
further
waterproofing or something like that.
Yes. So then we'll go for a secondary borehole inspection, where we drill underneath those elements, about 3-inch diameter boreholes, and we cover those with fire-rated vents.
Yeah, here are the vents. I have them.
Yeah.
So we'll do 3-inch boreholes. We'll stick an endoscopic camera up into the borehole area to observe the condition of the subfloor and the joists to see how they look.
Yes.
Then we'll cover it up with this, which is a fire-rated vent, which will allow also for cross ventilation, which is very important. So that's the inspection methodology. Those are the basic differences between SB326 and SB721. You know, this portion of my this portion down here under SB721 of our presentation was cut off. I can fix it before we put this on YouTube, or if you'd like a copy of this, I'm happy to provide it. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, you can email me. Happy to provide it, and you'll have all of the information there for you. So now that we've gone over the basic differences, I want to talk about some of the projects that we're doing. 2 of them in particular. This one here, where is it here? You know, I guess before we do that, let's talk about the definitions. The definitions between the 2 statutes, SB721 and SB326, are going to be the same. So what we're looking at are the exterior elevated elements, and those are going to be the railings, balconies, decks, porches, stairways, walkways, and entry structures that extend beyond the exterior walls of the building, and which have a walking surface that is elevated more than 6 feet above the ground. So that's the definition of an exterior elevated element. We're also looking at the associated waterproofing elements, like the flashings, the membranes, the coatings, and the sealants that protect the load-bearing elements underneath, the load-bearing components rather, underneath from water damage. And then load-bearing components are those components that extend beyond the exterior walls of the building and deliver the structural load from the exterior elevated element to the building. So those are going to be the joist systems, the beams, and the columns that are going to typically support these exterior elevated elements. These definitions are the same across both statutes. So I want to talk a little bit about the projects that we're doing now, and you can see them in various stages. This is an HOA that we're doing, where we're doing the balcony and walkway repair in Pasadena. Do you want to talk about a little bit about what's going on here?
I prefer you.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit. So what we've got going on here is you can see some smiling in these balconies here, and by smiling I mean just deflection in the rim joist. You can see that right underneath where the blue balcony railing is, where the stucco wall sort of ends and the balcony continues. That has caused significant damage and deterioration to the waterproofing surface. You can see that here in this picture. This is how the balconies look. This is actually the walkway on the other side of those balconies, and this is how it looks when we've removed all of the stucco and replaced those 2 rim joists. This is safety railing that's installed there as well. That's all temporary. These horizontal lines there, horizontal 2x4s, that's temporary, and those will be removed eventually. This is a picture of the new balcony, and actually this is the walkway surface that we're putting in. On the left, you can see that we've installed the waterproof paper and the lath, as well as new flashing all around the perimeter. The flashing is necessary in order to prevent water from wicking up into the units and into the stucco. There's also an integrated weep screed, which prevents water from getting back into the unit. And then on the right, you can see the initial steps of the waterproofing. This is a concrete silica compound that we put down to make sure that the substructure does not get wet. So you're already waterproofed at this point with the concrete put down like this, but we'll come back and do a surface coat as well. This is an example of a report that we drew up. You probably can't read this, but this is a report that we drew up after an inspection of the following exterior elevated elements. You'll see that it in the upcoming slides. So this is the exterior elevated element that we inspected, and this is a report. What we noticed here when we did the inspection, that there were huge cracks in the surface of the balcony, compromising the waterproofing of the balcony and allowing water to enter into the framing structure below, and allowing water to affect the load-bearing components. So we flagged this balcony for secondary inspection after our initial visual inspection, and we did boreholes on the underside. And this is what we saw through the boreholes. As you can see, there's significant microbial growth on the underside of the balcony. So we recommended further destructive testing to remove the balcony surface, and this is what we saw. We saw deteriorated plywood subdecking. We saw deteriorated joists, and these definitely have to be remediated.
Yes.
Yeah, probably engineered and torn down, engineered and rebuilt. Okay, so I think that's it. We talked a little bit about the differences between SB326. I wanted to show you all some pictures of balconies where we've done the inspection and what's happened, and work in progress. So I think that's it, right, Fana? Is that?
Yeah, as well. I'm not sure if you guys didn't sign up to our expo. So because we have a high demand, we extended another 24 hours to do RSVP. We have an expo in our office where we'll present all of our divisions, Balcony 1, Retrofit 1, and ADU 1. We'll have also lunch. It's a great time for you to come and see our office and meet our team. It's going to be next Tuesday, January 31st at our office between 11 to 1 p.m. You also have a link in the comments where you can go and sign up. We look forward to seeing you. Yeah,
that's a good point. So, funny enough, Myra in our office had an idea to put on our own expo here and invite some of our potential clients and existing clients to come see the office and learn a little bit more about what we do. And I thought it was a great idea, and I was happy to have maybe 10 people come to our office and meet with us. Thus far, we've had 60 people make reservations, and I thought that was just amazing. So we'd love to see you here. It's next Tuesday from 11 to 1 p.m. From 11 to 1 p.m. next Tuesday, January 31. We'll have lunch. We're bringing a wood-fired pizza vendor, someone who's going to come here and make pizzas fresh. So if anything, just come and have lunch with us and hang out, and we'd love to meet you guys.
Yes, and thank you for being with us today, and reach out. You can reach me directly, 818-401-8388. 818-401-8388.
Yeah, a lot of phone numbers to throw at you guys, but I think they're all in the chat. Again, thanks for the support. We really appreciate. We've got 2 live viewers right now. We had up to 4. I thought that was pretty interesting and really awesome. So we appreciate all the support. We'd love for you guys to come out and meet us. So thank you, and I'll end the broadcast now. Talk soon. Bye-bye.